What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JohnnyKpicks. And in this video, I'm going to go over my full card picks and predictions for UFC London. First things first, please hit that like button, make friends with that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any of my new videos or live streams. So UFC Vegas 50 happened last night, and I'm going to be honest with you, it was an amazing card from top to bottom. I ended up going 10-4 on my picks, and I ended up winning 6.98 units profit. But UFC Vegas 50 had a little bit of everything. It had KOs, it had submissions, it had comeback wins. The judging was on point. So for once, I can't rag on the judges for crazy scorecards or decisions. But some of my favorite highlights of the night was the comeback wins of Amirkhani, Grundy, and Dober. So for Amirkhani, he looked good in the first round, but as the fight went on, it did look like he was fading a bit. And for me though, I did think Njoku was winning 2 rounds to nothing, but it could have been 1-1 going into the third. But that flying knee in the third round was a thing of beauty. And I don't know if anyone else saw this before the third round started in Njoku's corner, but his coaches were telling him that he needed to go out there and get a finish and don't let this go to the judges' scorecards. And honestly, I think that was a big mistake by them because he was actually doing pretty good and he might have been up 2 rounds nothing, like I said. But you noticed when he came out in the third, he was a little bit more aggressive. He was pushing forward. And I think that's why Njoku got caught with that flying knee because he was a little too aggressive. But nevertheless, that was a very good win by Amirkhani and a great comeback win. And with Grundy, wow. Let's be honest, he was dead to rights in the first round. He was being outstruck and he was being outmuscled by Dalcha the whole fight. And with any other MMA fight, it only takes one minor mistake for you to lose a fight. And Dalcha left his head out there and Cody wrapped up a nasty guillotine and ended up finishing it. So good win by him. And with Dober, wow again. Because McKenna was shot out of a cannon in the first round. And he landed about 3 or 4 really good strikes on Dober. And you got to give Dober a lot of credit. He has a very good chin. I was surprised how good of a chin he had. He came back, somehow weathered the storm early, and got the finish when he landed that knee to the body and McKenna just went to the ground. And I don't want to say he gave up, but he just couldn't do anything more because I think his cardio faded real fast because he wanted to get that knockout. But very good win by Dober. All right, guys, so let's get to my picks and predictions for UFC London. So the first fight we have is Herbert versus Ilia Topuria. Herbert is 11-3, 33 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. And Topuria is 11-0, 25 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. So I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be the first fight of the night or not, but if it is, this is going to be a great card to start the night off. And this is definitely going to be one of my no-brainer picks of the night, and I'm going to pick Topuria to win this one. So Topuria is taking this fight on short notice, and it's up a weight class because he's normally in the featherweight division. But I'm not worried about this one bit for him. Topuria is the real deal. He's super well-rounded. He has very good striking. He's really quick with his hands. He has good grappling and wrestling, and he has good submissions as well. But I will say though, Herbert's no slouch on the feet. He does have some good power in his hands. He has good striking, but his weakness is in the grappling department, and his takedown defense is only 30%. So I really think that Topuria can take him down whenever he wants. Herbert is going to be the bigger fighter with a 6-inch height and 8-inch reach advantage, but I just think Topuria is too quick for him. He's going to be able to get inside of Herbert, potentially get takedowns, and he does have good counters too, so if Herbert does want to rush in, he needs to be careful with the counters. But the way I see this fight playing out is I think Topuria is going to go for takedowns. I think that's his easiest path to victory to win this one, and I do see him finishing it on the mat somehow, whether it's by a ground and pound KO or submission. So with my pick, I'm going to say Topuria does win by a ground and pound knockout. Next fight we have is Nathaniel Wood versus Vince Morales. Wood is 17-5, 28 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. And Morales is 11-5, 31 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. So with my pick here, I'm going to pick Wood to win this one. Wood has very good striking, and he does like to push forward a lot, and he does throw a lot of volume. He does have decent wrestling, and he can go for takedowns, but he's mainly just going to be a striker. And with Morales, he does have good striking as well, and I will give him the power advantage in this fight, so Wood's going to have to be cautious of his power. I do think this fight's mainly going to play out on the feet, and it's going to be a lot closer than the betting line says, but I do think Wood's going to be able to outstrike Morales and stay safe, not get knocked out. So with my pick, I'm going to say Wood wins this one by decision. Moving on up the card, we have Elise Reed versus Corey McKenna. Reed is 4-1, 29 years old, 5'3", with a 61.5-inch reach. And McKenna is 6-1, 22 years old, 5'3", with a 58-inch reach. Okay, so here's the first very close fight of the night that I was going back and forth with, but I ended up picking McKenna to win this one. So for me, both fighters are pretty well rounded. They both have good striking and good wrestling and grappling, but I will give McKenna the slight edge in both departments, and it's very close though. Also, McKenna is very young. She's 22 years old. So this is going to be a good test for her. McKenna does like to push forward, and with her cardio, she doesn't slow down one bit. Her cardio goes for the whole fight. And I do see that being a big advantage in this fight. I will say though, Reed does have good power in her hands, and she is a little hittable at times, and her takedown defense is only 50%. So if McKenna does want to take this fight to the mat, I do think she's going to be able to pretty easily. So I do think this fight's going to go to the judges' scorecards. So with my pick, I'm going to say McKenna wins this one by a close decision. Next fight we have is Mike Grundy versus Makwan Amirkhani. Grundy is 12-3, 35 years old, 5'7", with a 72-inch reach. And Amirkhani is 16-7, 33 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach. So with my pick in this one, I'm going to pick Grundy to win. So both guys are mainly going to be wrestlers and grapplers, but they are pretty decent on their feet, but it's pretty close either way. And I'll be honest here, I just can't trust Amirkhani. He's basically a one-round fighter, but he's very dangerous in the first round. And he's been knocked out a couple times recently in brutal fashion, mind you. But Grundy's going to have to play it safe in the first round at least. He's going to have to be careful for submissions because Amirkhani does have good submissions. But Grundy is a very good wrestler. He's going to be able to take down Amirkhani. And I do think that's his best path to victory, is to keep this a wrestling match, stay in top control, and just play it safe and not get submitted. And as the fight goes on, I think Amirkhani's gas tank is going to be drained, and it should be an easy decision after that. So with my pick, I'm going to pick Grundy to win by decision. Next fight we have is Muhammad Mokaev versus Cody Durden. Mokaev is 5-0, 21 years old, 5'9", and I'm not sure his reach. And Cody is 12-3-1, 30 years old, 5'7", with a 67-inch reach. So this is going to be a very fun fight to watch. I know Mokaev has a lot of hype right now, but guess what? I'm riding the hype train, and I'm going to say Mokaev wins this fight. So for Mokaev, this is going to be a very tough test for him. Durden's not going to be an easy out for him. Both guys are very good wrestlers, but I would give the edge to Mokaev. And on the feet, Durden does have power in his hands, and Mokaev's pretty good too as well, but I would give the slight edge to Durden, although Durden is hittable at times, so maybe Mokaev can take advantage of that. But the way I see this fight playing out is I think it's going to be another wrestling match. I think Mokaev's going to have the better wrestling. He's going to be able to stay in top control and stay safe. But again, I do think the betting line is a little too wide. It's going to be a closer fight than what it says, but I do think Mokaev's going to be able to out-wrestle Durden to get a decision win here. So with my pick, I'm going to say Mokaev wins by decision. Moving on up the card, we have Molly McCann versus Luana Carolina. McCann is 11-4, 31 years old, 5'4", with a 62-inch reach. And Carolina is 8-2, 28 years old, 5'6", with a 69-inch reach. So again, very close fight, and I was going back and forth with who I thought would win, and I ended up picking Molly McCann to win this one. So this is going to be a striker versus striker showdown, and both fighters have very good striking, but I will give the wrestling edge to McCann. I do think she has pretty good takedowns, but Carolina's takedown defense is really good too, so it's not going to be easy for McCann to get a takedown. And the one thing to watch out for though is Carolina's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage, so she might be able to stay at range. But McCann does like to push forward, and she's really quick to close the gap. So I'm not too worried about the reach advantage, but it's definitely a little red flag. And I don't see a finish in this fight. I do think it's going to go to the judges' scorecards, but I think McCann's going to be able to outstrike Carolina and potentially get a takedown or two to steal a couple rounds here and there. So with my pick, I'm going to say McCann wins a very close decision. Next fight we have is Jack Shore versus Timur Valiev. Shore is 15-0, 27 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, and Valiev is 18-2, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach. Alright, so this is the fight that I'm looking forward to in the prelims. And I do think it's going to be a very close fight, but I'm going to go with the underdog here, and I'm going to say that Jack Shore wins this one. So both guys are very good wrestlers and very good grapplers, and I would say that their striking is pretty equal. Jack Shore does like to kick a little bit more, and Valiev likes to use his boxing more. But the one thing I noticed, Valiev doesn't really use his wrestling that much. He likes to stay on the feet, but he has good wrestling though. But a red flag for me for Valiev is his takedown defense is 50%. And I think Jack Shore can take advantage of that. And another little red flag for me is Valiev tends to slow down as the fight goes on a little bit. I'm not saying he has cardio issues, but you can tell that his volume slows down a bit. And with Jack Shore, he's pushing all 3 rounds. He's trying to get takedowns. He's trying to grapple with you. So I do like that for Jack Shore. And the way I see this fight playing out is I think it's going to be more of a wrestling match. I think Jack Shore is going to be able to get a couple takedowns here and there and be able to stay on top control. So with my pick, I'm going to say Jack Shore wins by decision. Next fight we have is Nikita Krylov versus Paul Craig. Krylov is 27-8, 29 years old, 6'3" with a 77.5-inch reach. And Craig is 15-4-1, 34 years old, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. Okay, so this is going to be another very fun fight to watch. And I'm probably going to be in the minority here because I do think that a lot of people are going to pick Krylov, but I'm going to go the other way here, and I'm going to say Craig gets the upset win. So on the feet, Krylov is going to have the advantage for sure, but on the mat, I would give Craig the advantage all day. And I know Krylov is super well-rounded, but honestly, I think Craig is the more dangerous fighter. I think he's a little bit more dangerous on the mat, like I said, and he could potentially end this fight at any point. And I think the only path to victory for Krylov is to fight a perfect fight. He's going to have to stay safe for all 15 minutes of this fight and make sure he's not on his back, because Craig is a very good grappler, and he's going to be able to wrap up a submission, I think, if this fight gets to the mat once. And the way I see this fight playing out is I do think eventually Craig is going to be able to get Krylov on the mat, whether he's on his back or he's on top control. And after that, I think he's going to be able to wrap up a submission. So with my pick, I'm going to say Craig gets the upset here and gets a submission win. Next fight we have is Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Sergey Pavlovich. Abdurakhimov is 20-6, 40 years old, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. And Pavlovich is 14-1, 29 years old, 6'3" with an 84-inch reach. So for me in this fight, this is one of my no-brainer picks of the night, and I'm going to say Pavlovich wins this one. So Pavlovich is coming back from a 2-year layoff, and that's always a red flag for me, but I really think this is a very winnable fight for him. And another thing to note, Pavlovich is going to have an 8-inch reach advantage, and he has really good striking with a lot of power. And with Shamil, he's 40 years old, he's coming off 2 KO losses, and I just think Pavlovich is going to be a little too much for him. Shamil could use his wrestling to try to negate some of Pavlovich's power, but I don't think he's going to be able to even have the opportunity to do that. So I see this fight being really quick. I think Pavlovich is going to be able to get the knockout in the first round. So with my pick, I'm going to say Pavlovich wins by knockout in the first round. Moving on up the card, we have Gunnar Nelson versus Takashi Sato. Nelson is 17-5-1, 33 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. And Sato is 16-4, 31 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Alright, so yeah, this fight has so many red flags all over the board with this one. But I'm gonna say that Nelson gets the win. So I'll start with Nelson's red flags. He hasn't fought in 2 years. He is a little hittable, and his striking is questionable. And Sato's red flags, he's taking this fight on short notice. He hasn't fought in over a year. He's not the greatest grappler, and he's also hittable as well. So the big question in this fight is, how is Nelson gonna look after 2 years? But he does have really good wrestling, and I do think he's gonna be able to take down Sato. And the way I see this fight playing out is I think Nelson's going to go for takedowns early because he doesn't want to stay on the feet with Sato, because that's the only way Sato is going to be able to win. And once he gets his fight to the mat, I think he's going to be able to control him for the rest of the fight. So with my pick, I'm going to say Nelson wins by decision. Next fight we have is Paddy Pimblett versus Rodrigo Vargas. Pimblett is 17-3, 27 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. And Vargas is 12-4, 36 years old, 5'8", with a 71.5-inch reach. So this fight isn't quite a no-brainer pick of the night, but I'm very confident that Paddy Pimblett will win this one. So Paddy the Baddy is back, and honestly, I really like this guy. I think he's super well-rounded. He has really good striking with power. His grappling and wrestling is very good as well. But the only little thing that is a little red flag for me is he's kind of hittable at times and he gets a little wild. So that's something to watch out for. But Vargas is a very solid veteran. He has good striking himself. He has good power in his hands as well. But Paddy's going to have a clear advantage on the mat. And I think he's going to be his easiest path to victory is if he goes for his wrestling and gets this fight to the mat. If the fight does play out in the feet, I do like Paddy to win still, but it's going to be a lot closer. So I'm going to go out on a limb. I think everyone's going to say that Paddy Pimblett is going to win by a knockout or something like that, but I think this fight goes to the judges' scorecards. I think Paddy is going to try to test himself on the feet the first round, and then he's going to start going to his wrestling after that. So with my pick, I'm going to say Paddy Pimblett wins a pretty comfortable decision. All right, co-main event time here. We have Arnold Allen versus Dan Hooker. Allen is 17-1, 28 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach. And Hooker is 21-11, 32 years old, 6 foot, with a 75.5-inch reach. So I feel like I've been saying this a lot in this video, but this is going to be another close fight. But I'm going to go with Allen to win this one. So both guys are very good strikers. They're both very technical, but Allen's going to have the clear advantage on the mat. But Hooker is going to have a 4-inch height and 5.5-inch reach advantage. So I do think Allen's going to want to use his wrestling and try to get this fight to the mat. If he does want to keep the fight standing though, he just has to make sure that he's pushing forward, which he does do a pretty good job at. And also another thing to note in this fight, this will be Dan Hooker's first fight at featherweight, so we don't know how he's going to look. We're not going to be sure if his gas tank and cardio is going to be there or not. But the way I see this fight playing out, I do think Allen's going to want to test his striking with Hooker, and if he mixes in a couple takedowns here and there, I do think he's going to be able to get a decision win. So with my pick, I'm going to say Allen wins by decision. All right, main event time now. We have Alexander Volkov versus Tom Aspinall. Volkov is 34-9, 33 years old, 6'7", with an 81-inch reach. And Aspinall is 11-2, 28 years old, 6'5", with a 78-inch reach. So this is going to be a very fun main event fight. And I'm going to go with the underdog, and I'm going to pick Aspinall to win this one. So both guys are very good strikers, but I think Aspinall is going to be the more explosive guy. He's going to have the speed advantage. I do think he also has the power advantage. And I know we haven't really seen Aspinall's wrestling and grappling game yet, but he says he has really good wrestling, and I trust him. But I think this is a good opportunity to use it. Volkov is going to be the bigger fighter. He's going to have a 2-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage, but he's a very tough guy, and he's hard to take down because he's massive, but he does tend to slow down as the fight goes on. And I know we haven't seen Aspinall outside the first round too many times, but I'm going to go ahead and trust his cardio to hold up. And the way I see this fight playing out is I think Aspinall is going to try to push the pace a bit in the first round, maybe hold up Volkov against the cage or try to get a takedown just to wear him down a bit. And then once the second round hits, I think he's going to be able to get a knockout or maybe even a submission if he gets the fight to the mat. So with my pick, I'm going to say Aspinall wins by knockout in the second round. Alright guys, so those are my picks and predictions for UFC London. Thank you everybody for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. I hope everybody enjoys the fights this weekend, and until then, happy fight night.